All right, I can still see people joining, but what we'll do is we'll get started on the introduction just while people are joining in. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the Work of Design Live from Studio Designer, the industry's leading project management, time billing, and accounting platform for the interior design industry. I'm Jamie Brown, and thank you so much for joining us today. At Studio Designer, our mission is to empower creativity by creating the industry's leading business management solutions to help designers see their full potential. We launched this webinar series to share business advice, best practices, and encourage knowledge sharing in our community. To deliver the very best content to you, we partner with thought leaders and experts in the industry to share their expertise on running a design firm and to grow our collective knowledge. Today, I am so thrilled to introduce Traci Connell, an award-winning, nationally published interior designer and business coach. Traci, before I pass it over to you, just a couple of quick logistics for the group. I'm sure everybody is so excited to hear you speak and has lots of questions. We are going to have time for questions at the end, so if you do have questions throughout the talk, please feel free to pop them in the chat below and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. All right, without further ado, Traci, I'll pass it over to you to start the presentation. We're so excited to have you join us today.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Hi, everybody. I am thrilled to be here. I know I can't even see like your names, but I know a lot of you. And so many of you are saying, hey, I want to pop on your webinar today. So I'm so glad that you did. And thank you to Studio Designer for having me. If you know anything about me, I like to share industry knowledge, best practices, everything that I have learned in my 23 years of doing this back to all of you. So a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm Traci Connell. I'm based here in Dallas, Texas. And I have a firm of 8. We mostly do high-end residential work, new construction, large renovations, full furnishings. And I have carved my way out of solopreneurship, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago, into being in the CEO seat. And through the last like 6 or 7 years, I decided, as kind of a personal mission, that I wanted to share my success of being in a place, like I said, the CEO, running a well-oiled machine, and having some personal and professional like freedom, right? To be able to do some other things that I'm passionate about. So yes, interior designer, run this firm here, but also I have ventured into business coaching about 5 years ago. So I have a community. It's called The Gloss. It's not lipstick or nail polish. It's the ultimate glossary of business resources for interior designers. And I'm going to share with you all today, I know why you're here, to really talk about my success framework of how to sell and land what I call the champagne client. So that's a little bit about me. And again, thank you, Studio Designer, for having me. I have been a client of Studio Designer for 10 years. So as I just got off a coaching call, and one of the girls said, well, I do QuickBooks. What should I do? Like, even, she doesn't have any employees right now. I'm like, go into Studio. I'm going to be referring to a couple of examples how we use it here in our firm to create efficiency, but it is our lifeline. So good to see you guys. All right. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about our success framework. And the way I think about that is more of a feeling, more of our clients being in the place of buying through emotions, right? And making these decisions. When it's more of a broader feel, it's about their home, their family, their freedom, their beauty, their fellowship, their memories, and how we can impact that. And I do that through what I call an elegant sales and design development process. It is key, these repeatable automated systems, for you to be able to get in that space And that is what I'm going to share with you all today. So let's talk about this. Like I said, I have a 5-step process for landing champagne clients. And I'm going to literally tell you like step by step how we do it and how I teach my design students as well. So the idea here, it's funny, like efficiency is my jam because I need to be going and selling to other clients, running the firm, doing design work, all the things that I really want to do, coaching all of you. So I have developed a system where basically there's 5 meetings from the minute they call my office till full design presentation day. The deal is I am only involved in 3 of those 5 steps because we all know we can't be good at everything. And so I look at my, zone of genius, which I want all of you to do. What can you outsource to other people? But that's where, like I put here, like, let's stick to what works. We don't have to be creative in like the process of doing things. We want to be efficient. So this is what I'm going to show you today of how I can have minimal interaction, but still nail, right? The inspiration, the wishes, the desires, sell my value in order to land these jobs. Now, before I get started, what are champagne clients? You guys are probably like, what is she talking about? And what is a champagne client? So when I am thinking about like when I think about like our students, or we have a Facebook group, right? It's called the Gloss Frontier Designers. And that's when you guys go on in the Facebook group and you share and you ask questions. And I get on there and I'm asking like, what are your big challenges right now? What are your biggest challenge? And a lot of them are like lead generation. How do I get bigger jobs? How do I get bigger budgets? How do I find my ideal client? How do I network? How do I market to the champagne client? And so first, what I had to do was dig down myself. And, I feel like we all have these like internal brainstorming sessions. I might have them more than a lot of people because I'm like this constant visionary coming up with all this stuff. But I knew I first had to define who my champagne client was, right? So in the beginning, when I was working, as sort of like a second income, and I'd take my kids to work, I'd pick them up to work, to school. They go to school. They didn't go to work back then. But it was almost like, I was a second income, right? And back then it was like I was doing anything to get jobs, giving away like consultations for free at the school carnival or the auction. I was trading design time for wine, like of acquaintances. I'm like, let me bring my kid to play with your kid. You feed me wine. I'll give you design advice, right? I took every single hour consult that I could come up with, like even like 4 or 5 in one day. I was trucking around like DFW because I knew it was money in the door. But back then, not many moved to really full service design, right? When I became a single mom responsible for these 3 babies, which they were teenagers by then, I knew I had to do some things differently. It was not adding up. The math was not mathing, right? So it was bread and butter, but I knew that I needed to make some quick cash without any follow-up. So write in the chat if you can identify with this. How do I move from just trading time for money to making money off a product? It's those bigger jobs. But I realized those $125 consults were not going to get me there. So I knew what I needed to do, right? After taking on like several small one-room projects, right, from those hourly consultations, but I was working 60 hours a week. I could not sustain my household, as a single mom, much less like getting out there and trying to date. You guys know what that's like. But the game changed when I realized that what I wanted and needed was a different type of client. My definition of a champagne client now was derived from everything that I hated about some of the clients that maybe were beer loving clients and weren't necessarily like champagne loving. I know there's good beer out there, you guys. So I decided I could no longer be micromanaged. I didn't want to work with like super picky people that tried to change my business structure, that redlined my contract, right? And so I went from designing one room projects to putting in a boundaries. Right now, I don't take anything that's less than like 5 rooms, okay? And it's a vetted process because I know that that's a budget I can work with. I don't want to be stuck on the back end with having a teeny tiny budget and I have to order from Wayfair and it falls apart. You know what that does to me? I mean, it's just a waste of my time, my team's time. So I realized the champagne clients were at a different level and I started talking to them in social media. I didn't want to talk to DIYers. I wanted to talk to people who really value the service that we bring. Okay. So that forced me, right, into a different realm. And I knew that my calls after installations would go down and I would have great projects to photograph because I knew where I wanted my next level to go. Like I wanted to be the it girl. I wanted to be published. I wanted to be on the front of magazines. Why? I don't know. And I always like go back and think about that. Was I trying to prove something to somebody else? No, I was proving it to myself. So what I'm going to suggest is that you take a deep dive into your champagne client. Who is that? What does that look like? Are your current services meeting the needs of that person? Are you attracting them? That's something we all need to look and really identify ourselves. So here we go. Today, you are going to learn my 5 steps of sales and design. All right. From the first phone call to the full design concept. The next thing is a hot topic. How do you estimate the budget for the entire project and communicate your fees confidently during the fee and scope review meeting? Who wants to hear about that? And then really my secret like tips of getting your clients to relax, to let go and control, to allow you to be in the driver's seat and them not calling you during the process, right? And like I said, you know, when I reach out to all the Gloss members and the designers, they want to know how to get this ideal client. And I dig in more and I'm like, well, why? What is it? What is it that you want? Their biggest wish, all of you, not all of you, a lot of you want a better work-life balance, right? And the champagne client would be an integral part of you achieving this. In their voices, I hear sadness, overwhelm, exhaustion, desperation, confusion, right? And I have been there. I've done it all, you guys. I still practice interior design every single day. So I know what you're going through. But as I'm coaching these students over the last 5 or 6 years, it clicked with me that these feelings can go away if there was a proper workflow in place. So the lack of the workflow to me is a reason why you might be feeling chaotic. You don't know what to do next. You don't know how to close them. You don't know when to introduce fees. To me, it's clockwork. Okay. What was happening in some of our groups, it was like, oh, the wheels are falling off over here when we're talking about product and reselects and it's after presentation. Now they're going back and they're, you know, and then I run out of money or I'm doing 10 reselects on a lamp. All of these issues that I'm hearing are happening after they sign the client. And my response every single time is, you know, and I feel bad. I'm like, if you just would have addressed it in the beginning, you would not have this issue. We would not be in this place together where I'm helping you like crawl out of it. It starts with the relationship at the beginning. These are some of the examples that I hear. Oh my gosh, I just presented everything. I sent the proposal and now my client's shopping all the products online. Okay. They want me to continue with all these reselects. I've spent, I've given them 10 lamps. We're over budget. Now they're mad at me and they want to stop the job because, I told them, well, maybe, just in a conversation and be like 50,000, but I designed and it's really 150, right? Yikes. Too many meetings. Like you got, it's like, oh, I want to go back to the plumbing showroom. I want to go back and look at tile again. And I want you to show me 7 sofas in Dallas Design District, right? Maybe it's, oh my gosh, the wheels are falling off on our remodel. I need you to come out here really quickly. To me, that's a chaotic lifestyle. And what I know about myself, I like predictability. I like calendars. I like schedules. So my personality has to do with my background. So in my head, when all this is going on, I'm hearing all this feedback, I'm like, in my world, it's easy. Like, I wish I could like through the Zoom, like transfer over to you the feeling that I have of peace and confidence, being prepared for every single step of the design process that flows like clockwork. And I never feel like I don't know what to do next. Okay. It boils down to processes and people. Okay. Processes and people. So let's see what that looks like. Okay. Let me get that rolling. Sometimes it's finicky. All right, guys, here are the 5 steps. The 5 steps of the sales and design development process. And we're going to dig into all of this. Here are the 5 steps. Client inquiry, they call you or they send an email, right, to your like web page or whatever. You're having a consultation. You have a scope and fee review. You go into your contract or your agreement and you onboard the client, and then you have a design concept meeting. So we're going to talk about each one of these things. So as I dug into the challenges of many designers, these surprise events that keep happening, oh crap, this happened. I didn't think about that. I got to add this to my contract. Like the surprise events for a person like me, it like completely freaks me out. But I've identified that if your process from the very beginning is like loosey-goosey, right? If there's a non-process of money talk, I mean, like bingo, what if we solve this, you guys? All this has to happen before the contract is signed. With the exception of those who are like, sometimes you can do like a discovery phase where you charge a fee and then you dig in a little more and establish budget. I do that occasionally, but let me show you how this works. 5 steps. The client inquiry. I guess my biggest recommendation on the client inquiry is that you are not taking this call. If you do have anybody in your team or you can outsource that is taking the first call, that's golden, okay? So for example, you can see here on the screen, this is a template that we have in our mentorship community. It's called the Confidential. But someone else on my team, I think I even have one like right here. Someone else on my team is taking the call or calling back. And you can see it's just general information. And it's really based on how did you find this? It's a vetting call. Because whoever's taking the call in my office understands the parameters as to who we might really feel like is our champagne client. So I'm not on this discovery call. I have nothing to do with it. If they feel like it's a good fit, then they're moving it to me. They again, process. First, they text me a picture. It goes in Asana. It's uploaded. I call back. I take the call. It is no more than 10 or 15 minutes for us to go to the next step. Okay. That is the first step. Am I involved in the first out of 5 steps? No. It comes to me. If it's not a good fit, then my team gives an alternative. Hey, we have an online design option. Let me send you there. This might be a great alternative. You still get the TCI look and I mean, design But, if your budget is a little less and you don't really want to invest in full service, it's a great option. Okay, what happens next? Let's just say I call back for 10 minutes, great fit. Then I say, all right, well, the next step in the process is that we either come out for an in-home consultation and the fee is blank, or you can come into our studio for a get acquainted meeting. It's about 45 minutes, no charge for that. This especially works when it's a new construction. Like, I don't need to go to their home. If it's a new construction, I don't need to go yet. I don't want to do any work until I'm paid, like real work, right? That's kind of the way that this works. One thing, and this is a freebie that you guys are going to get at the end of this webinar. I had, when I was early coaching, a designer, and I was asking about the consultation. Nothing was ever moving like into full service after that. And I said, what happens at the end of the consultation? She says, well, I just leave them a marketing pamphlet, and then maybe I'll follow up, like in a couple of days. And I'm like, say what? Like, so I have, you guys, if you know me, you've heard about this pitch deck that I have, that I teach the designers. Literally, you guys, it's like all about my firm. If I go into their home for a paid consultation, at the end, I say, hey, let's take the next 10 minutes. Let me tell you how our firm works. Okay. I am at this meeting. These are two examples of just visuals in the pitch deck. If they're doing just furnishings, then I have things like these images to show how we execute a build job or renovation at the beginning. And I'll just like click through them just so they know, like, how would they know that we offer furnishings and construction? They don't know. I'm showing them, I'm telling them. If it's a new construction project, I'm walking them through this. This is an example of a build presentation. You come in, you'll see the metal, the metal finishes, you'll see the wallpaper samples, you'll see the tile. This is a rendering. This is what we do. And then, even for a builder presentation, these are the elevations. This is just a 2D render. We offer SketchUp 3D render. I walk them through like this little walkthrough thing that we have. It is your time to pitch everything you do and explain your value, because they have no idea. Oh my gosh, of course these fees are going to be higher. I had no idea they provide all these services. So it goes all the way into ordering, expediting, meetings, like the whole thing. It's literally 10 minutes. Your freebie is the pitch deck essentials checklist that you should be going through. And again, this is a recommendation. Some of you have versions of this, but the deal is that I closed over $3 to $4 million in sales last year using this checklist. Right? That's good. You're going to get this. All right. It includes a key element of the pitch deck. And it's also, you guys, like a safety net. If you're like, oh, I'm intimidated, or I don't want to talk about money. This is your little safety blanket to just march through your PowerPoint. So you can say, this is how we do this. This is how we, spend our money or your money. This is how we allocate. These are our fees. Okay. It also can highlight the work that you've done. This is your calling card in a PowerPoint presentation. All right, let's see where we are. Yeah, we're doing good. So you're going to get this little checklist that includes all the things that I think that you should be showing them. And it's so weird. Like, you would never say, let me show you my pitch deck. It's just, you'll see in a minute, I have weird names for things, but I don't ever call it because I don't want them to think that I'm pitching to them, but that's exactly what you're doing. That's what you're doing. All right. So what's next? The third. Oh, y'all, this is big. Pay attention to this one. All right. Before we sign a contract, we are obviously reviewing the scope of work and the fee estimate. You've done the inquiry call, you've done the presentation. And like I said, if you are someone who has a team, your input, your client interaction is on the second visit. Yes, you do the consultation. This third interaction, 98% of the time I do this by Zoom. Efficiency, you guys, efficiency. You can share your screen. You're prepared. You don't want to waste your time. Like if I do this in person, it's going to take an hour. If I do this by Zoom, honestly, you guys, sometimes it's 20 minutes. It's under a half an hour. So this is what happens. So after a consultation, if I know this person, we've talked a little bit about budget and investment, the whole thing. If I'm like, okay, this is going to be a potential champagne client for my firm, then what we do as a team, we go back to the office. We look at the floor plan. We are basically creating this, what I've always called it an estimate range, like forever. I just need to change the name of some of these things. So I want to list all the things that we would be providing, right? I want the client to see that if you work with us, yeah, I mean, we're contracted to provide you 52 things, in the scope of work, right? And let's just say this is furnishings. But in Studio Designer, we have what's called a blank client, and it is set up for an ideal budget. So it may be a Holly Hunt budget. Maybe it's a Vanguard client. You know where these people are landing, but it is the template that we use in Studio Designer that already has the typical rooms you would include in a primary bedroom, a guest room, a bathroom, etc., with a couple different, like, again, purchase levels. There is like a purchasing level I will not go under. So if they say we want all these 5 rooms done for $75,000, it's not going to happen at my firm. So I've already kind of told them, why go through the process if I know I can't do it? Okay. So this is the form. This is a template that we use. Then it kind of goes into, I've just kind of transitioned you guys over to like a pretty Canva document, but for the longest time, it was this Word document. And let me tell you, I closed for I don't know how many years, 10, 12 years I've been using this little document. So once you understand, and you can do this internal budgeting exercise, you can do it in Excel. Someone else said this morning they use Google Sheets. Like you can do it in Studio Designer. But I need for you to understand what you can do for a certain number. And I like this to be upfront before they sign. So I'm ready to present. My team does this. They fill it out. They're on the consultation. And then I look at it. Like I have a Zoom call today. Somebody that found us, we did Kips Bay, Dallas. Yesterday was our last day. I'm sort of sad. We did this great cigar lounge, but I had people going through there and calling us for potential work because they saw, they either met me there or they saw our space. So this afternoon, we have a call with a prospect. We went out to their home. One of my designers did the estimate range. I looked at it and said, oh no, I think this needs to be higher. I think we need a mix of this. I think we should take out the art budget. I am like the final review. It'll be in a document. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to present the scope of work and the budget this afternoon. Okay. It's an ideal budget. In our group, The Confidential, like I role play all of this, but y'all, it just takes away the anxiety of talking about money and talking about process. I don't think about it. I'm super comfortable, but this is practice, right? So third step, in addition, right? You're talking about your value in this as well, right? And I'm really upfront. You can see here, we have the estimated product cost. We have our furnishings design fee. We use a flat fee for our design plan on the furnishing side, okay? We also include, like a lot of our furniture jobs, a lot of them are like, oh, well, we do want to add a scope to redo the powder, or we want to do built-ins of the playroom as you furnish, or we need a new fireplace, whatever that scope of work is, that's listed there too. And then I collect a non-refundable retainer for the build work. I don't know, like on builds, I'm like, this could just fly off the walls, right? If you're a new designer, I do suggest that you charge by the hour for your design fees on especially furnishings But again, what's so great about Studio Designer, I can look back at all my projects. I can look back at the profitability reports. This was a good job. We stayed within our allotted hours. This budget was healthy, because I can look at those reports and then I can use this as historical documentation information to go do the next design fee. That is the beauty of what is really inside Studio Designer, among thousands of other things. But when I'm doing this estimate range, maybe I don't have it right. Maybe I'm like, he wanted, this example, like he wanted, these 10 spaces for whatever, 300,000. And I know I can't do it for that. Then I'll have a plan B and I'll have it ready to pull up. Okay, well, let's take off these 2 rooms and then we can fit it all in. Okay. So again, this is like something that if it's a backup, you still want a win. During the Zoom call, they can absolutely ask questions. There's no butterflies. There's no stumbling over your words. You have utter confidence because I know my value and my rock solid process. Okay. This step is often skipped by designers. You're so excited. You want to close that job. You're like, I'm just going to get it. I'm going to worry about the budget after. Y'all, that's when the wheels start falling off. This is still your 3rd step. We estimate it for the entire project. Yes, your team is taking time to do this. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's an hour and a half. But if we only have to talk about money one time, y'all, come on, let's do it. It's like a no-brainer. So yes, it's skipped. And I feel like it's a confidence thing. At that moment on that Zoom call, you have the attention of this person that you are pitching to. You've got a beautiful document that says, hey, I really put some time into this and really have been thoughtful about creating this investment level for you, or a budget, because I don't like surprises and I know you probably don't either. Okay. So that's what I talk about. Like, you want to avoid surprises on the back end. So that is 3. All right. So yes, I'm involved in that. But that is definitely something that, again, is more, I'm involved, but it doesn't take long. All right. So let's move on. We're in our 4th step. I've met with them twice. Contract and onboarding. Your agreement is key, you guys. So this is where like the boundaries come into play. This is where you're setting the stage. This is where all those little this is how we work. Don't call me after this. This is this percentage. This is the way the money works. When you are like proposing a flat fee on something, you guys, I could spend 3 hours here talking about contracts. I'm not going to do this, but this is my best and biggest tip. Okay. In your agreement or in your pitch deck, when you're talking about how it works and reselects and everything else, if you use the word revision, you get 2 revisions for a room, or you get 3 revisions for a space. Y'all, you know what a revision means? Oh my gosh. I don't like anything in here in this yellow scheme. I want you to do it all again and do everything in purple. And just give me one more option for everything. That's a revision. You got to recreate the entire design plan over. How about you switch the word to how many reselects? These are 1 item deals. 1 item. So take a look at your agreement. For me, because I've been doing this so long, that we offer 1 item reselect per space. That's including our flat fee. Those of you who maybe are not at my level or whatever, or if you're even above, you may not offer any, right? But I'm pretty confident that we nail their vision, and I'm going to show you how we do that next, that it's a reselect. If they were like, well, that's not going to be enough for me. I'm like, no problem, right? No problem. This is included in our flat fee. but we are more than happy to move to an hourly, approach for additional reselects, etc. All right. Your agreement, and this is what like I bring to all our design students. I'm like, if something happens in my firm and I change my contract, I'm telling you. If something like a client goes nuts and I have to change my contract, I'm telling you, right? My job as a business mentor is basically to help you avoid the things I've already done. Okay. So that is your contract. Okay. Onboarding, that's not me. Okay, that's not me. This is when we're asking them, send in your Pinterest pictures, your Instagram, your desires, your photos, and then the questionnaire. Okay, so someone else, my business manager, my office manager usually does that. It's all goes into a Dropbox. All right, so we have their information. So again, I'm involved in step 2, consultation. Step 3, fee and scope review. I close the deals. The next step, not involved in all. They create the contract from the estimate range. They send it through DocuSign. They send it back. They send the money in. And then they're involved in gathering everything for onboarding. All right. So what happens next? This is the 5th step that you're going to do before you have your big old presentation. In my firm, we design, so say it's a 10-room project. We design the entire home, okay? And present it like that. Sometimes it takes all day. Sometimes, we break it in half. It's a really big house and like do half one day, half the other. I want them to see everything up front, why they're happy. They're like, oh my God, I just love this. Like the first time in my career, you guys, the other day, this was probably three weeks ago, a client said, okay, like we did the presentation and we actually had the proposal ready to go. He wrote a check sitting there. Like most of them are like, oh, I got to go home. We're going to discuss it and So because of this 5th step, we're able to get really close when we are doing the design presentation. So after they onboard within 2 weeks, we're saying, all right, you're going to have a design concept meeting. You're going to come into our firm. This is what I call the infamous red dot, green dot meeting. You guys put in the chat if you heard me talk about this. Don't use my titles, but it's kind of funny. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so I do tell them this is a red dot, green dot meeting. So basically what we're doing, they come into the office. We have pages. So maybe we're doing the dining room. We'll have 2 pages that look like this for dining room. Living room sometimes, and there's usually 3 to 4 pictures on each page. Inspiration, right? But all of these are on like our big whiteboard on magnets. I give them the garage sale stickers, green and red. So each partner, if they're 2 people, has a green and a red thing. And because I was a former teacher, I don't know if I told you guys that long time ago. I'm like, no talking. Please go up there. If you absolutely hate this, put a red dot. If you, if you like the vibe and you want to talk about it more, there's some things that you really like about it, put a green dot. We're going to talk about this. So all this writing down here it's not on here. Okay. What happens is they go do the exercise and then they kind of start talking to one another. I'm like, nope, no talking. They come back to the table and then I put this PowerPoint presentation up on the screen. In the background, I'll have like one of the designers on their laptop. They are moving the dots to what the client put. So on this picture, one of them didn't put anything and one put a green. This one, they both put green. This one put a red and the other was unsure. They put a yellow. And then my designers are making notes. So you know how great this is. When we go to create the presentation, I'll be like, I know and this is a previous client, like she even has here, like in 2017, like she loved pink. And so she was kind of like trendy and kind of glammy. We put it in here. Well, now she hates it. She's like, yeah, the Laura of 2017 really loved this, but I don't want that now. We're writing this down. And when I go back and like we're reviewing a presentation and I'm like, I know they said something about a smaller back on the bar stools. What did they say? It's all in here. So like for this, I say, or one of the designers, how do you feel about a barrel back chair? How do you feel about full upholstery? Let's talk about the tabletop. Are you okay with glass? Do you have to have wood? Are you okay with marble? Like these things keep coming up. What do you think about the rug? Like, is this a pattern? I mean, are you okay with this little pattern? Do you want solid? Do you even want one under your dining table? Y'all, it is the best information gathering session and I've only started this like 3 years ago, but it's great. Okay. It is great. I'm involved with this. They're doing the heavy lifting. I'm talking through with the client. So by the end, you have this whole thing of red and green dots. You are coming up with inspiration pictures, but you know what we'll do? We'll add one of theirs. Because I want to know, why'd you send this to us? What do you like about this? Okay. All right. That's the 5 steps, right? And when I think about like, how do I get my clients to let go of control and like not bug us during the design process, is basically like you do what you say and do what you say you will do, right? Plain and simple. If you say, all right, you send your contract here. We have our design concept meeting in 2 weeks. We're going to use 6 weeks to design. This is going to be your presentation. You know what happens between the red dot, green dot meeting and the full big cat daddy presentation? We don't hear from them. They're not calling. They're not asking what's up. They're not putting their design input in. Y'all, it's a beautiful thing. Like, we're just designing. They understand the process. They know what's going to come next. So the more informative you can be at the beginning, it's just going to pay you back in dividends because it's less design time. And when you charge a flat fee, and maybe it's $100,000 flat fee, and you're looking at your hours, you're inputting your hours in Studio Designer, and that's a game changer. Okay. I want my design team to only have, $80,000 worth of hours in there, not 100. Because guess what happens? Your firm profits because you are more efficient. Right? So when you spend all this time in onboarding, you're free to design. And they're just like, oh, I can't wait, I can't wait. And the biggest thing to this, you guys, is listening. So during that concept meeting, I am asking everything that comes into my mouth, or my head. I'm like, okay, how do you feel about fringe on your rugs? Look at this sofa. It has a really narrow arm. Do you have a preference in the arm width? Oh yeah, I really love to put my coffee down in the morning, and you go into how does the space make you feel, the whole thing. Okay. But the deal is here that you are asking questions, you are gathering information, the client is trusting you fully and know, hey, they're deep down, I'm not going to I'm giving them creative control. I'm not going to interrupt them. It boils down to boundaries. That's your agreement. This is your business. They called you. Don't feel bad about creating boundaries. I always say to my designers, oh, I feel bad. I feel like it's too much money, or I feel bad that I'm pushing them off and I'm not charging for consultation. And I'm like, you know what? When I was developing this framework, like I said, I was a single mom. Every moment counted because my most important job was raising those 3 kids. And if I wasn't charging for any of this, and if I felt like, oh God, the product it's too much money. If I would have done that and not taking a risk and following my gut, my reality wouldn't be where I want it to be now. So that's kind of like a little pep talk. So that's basically the 5 steps, the 3 interactions they have with me. Because you know what happens after that's done, y'all? The design, the design is done. You go into project management. If you have a team, they're project managing, you're involved as much as you want to be, but guess what? I'm back at the funnel. I'm getting champagne clients. I'm, talking to them. I'm courting them. I'm networking. And then I go back into the sales process. I know that's a lot. We do have the freebie for you guys, but if you're interested in learning more about the gloss, I think we're going to do a little bit of a poll here and ask you guys some questions, but you are more than welcome to join me over on Instagram at Join the Gloss for like lots of business stuff. You can follow us at Traci Connell Interiors, that's design. Join our Facebook group. This is all the action. I know it's Facebook, but it's robust. Okay. And then we have mentorship programs that are full year. They're for designers starting out to designers who like are under $1 million. And then I have a framework. I have actually an exclusive mastermind if your revenue is over $1 million and you're really booming into CEO level. But there are tons of different options. Again, if you're serious about growing your business, making more money, and getting your life back in freedom, because that's what literally my mission and goal is for all of you. Okay, repeatable automated systems. And thank you, Studio Designer, for allowing me to, number one, have this program in my firm and to bring it to you. So, Jamie, I'll let you jump in and Q&A.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. We've had some questions and some of them are specifically around fees. So we'll start with Nicole's.
Okay.
She says, for your build design fee, do you find there's a ballpark percentage of the overall project budget that you're able to provide an estimate or range for clients?
I don't do it that way. I've tried everything. For new construction, the way we do it is a price per square foot. And so the way that I know if it works or doesn't, and here's the thing, you guys, price per square foot is essentially a flat fee. Here's the deal. Everything in your business should be based off deliverables. You're providing this. If they go outside the sandbox, it's hourly. Okay. Here's this. If you want more than one trip to the plumbing showroom, we convert to hourly. You can check this. So let's just say your design fee for however many square feet, whatever, maybe it's $80,000. You're tracking this in Studio Designer. When we are inputting our hours under the like the time billing activities, they are for build, they are furnishings. So they're different than I can go back and say, oh my gosh, well, if I allocated whatever, 200 hours to this build, and we're 150 hours in, then I know, okay, team, hold on, let's take a look at this. Let's review and adjust. So I do it by the square footage because I'm good at boundaries and I can say you're falling out, like you need to re-up some money. And my team's gotten really good at it too.
So this actually ties into our next question. Tammy's asked, what's the difference between the build design fee and the furnishing fee?
Oh, that's such a good question. Y'all, I could like stand here all day and talk to you about this. So, but we're not. We have 15 more minutes. What's the difference between a build design fee and a furnishings design fee? So to me, everything in my world is 2 buckets. And that's how I do my contracts. That's how I explain my fees and our services to a potential client. Think about this. So like if you were doing a new construction job with a builder, whatever, or a client, and you're picking all the hard finishes, you're working on the floor plans, you're, picking counters, lighting, everything that if you would take that house and dump it upside down and it would stay, that's what involved in the build. Okay. So there's a fee for designing that home. So many of you just do renovations. I know that. That's one fee. Okay. That's a separate design fee. And if they say, oh, Traci, or I say, we don't take a build job without taking a furnishings job. Well, that's completely different skill set, right? Furnishings doesn't come after you do the build. So I have a separate fee for furnishings, and that is based off of like what I showed you, how long we think it's going to take, what's the product cost, So those are the differences, and I combine them into one contract, but I separate them. This is for your build. This is a design fee for your furnishings. Hope that helped.
I think it does. Thank you so much. The next question is, when you're a new designer, how do you know how much to estimate for an FF&E budget?
So are you talking like on the, well, like I said, I split them up. So it depends if you're talking about like furnishings and all the product in the, like in the build, you know, again, that's research. That's you going and literally taking the time. And I think this is something that designers just don't want to do. They want somebody to tell them, you know, charge this much, charge this much, charge this much. In my programs, I tell them exactly how I do it. This is my formula. This is the profit margin you need. Thank you again, studio designer. I know what profit margin I need on every single job. But I have to go back there and tweak. I have to build it myself because the estimate of your FF&E could be different on a $500,000 house than it is for a $5 million house. So you've got to research, start plugging it into these spreadsheets, and you'll find your sweet spot.
Makes sense. Seems like lots of questions about fees. So the next one we have is, are you also transparent with execution and procurement fees? We find that a lot of times clients are overwhelmed with the percentage of the design fee, execution and procurement fees on top of their overall budget.
Okay. So when I'm doing this, like I want to keep the fees simple. I don't want, okay, here's a fee for this, and then here's a percentage for this, and then it's going to convert to hourly and project management, and then you're going to have this on the end. Like everything is front loaded for us. What I have done in my firm is, and I'm actually, anyway, I teach a course on how to buy wholesale. The discounts, the deep stocking dealer discounts that I have created allows me to have a higher percentage margin on the product we sell. Okay, it is not 20%. It is not 30%. It is a lot more. So we have a nice, healthy design fee. I do not charge a project management fee, procurement, etc. on that, on every job, because it's included. I say it's included in the price of the product. Okay, whether or not it's included in the design fee, because that has to cover everything, but my design fees are hefty enough that we are covered for the entire like design process. And I know that we're profitable.
Okay, got it. At what point in the process that you outlined today are the room measurements done?
Great question. I do not do those until we have a signed contract. So when I'm at a consultation, this is what's happening. So again, there's someone in my team, typically with me. You're taking notes because I'm like, you know, you could tell I like to chat, and I'm like trying to make the small talk. This is a relationship building, you know, this is how we do things. So I'm, oh God, my daughter went to UT as well. Oh my God, she was in the same sorority. Oh my God, like, you know, that whole thing. They're taking notes as we're walking around. When I sit down with them on the pitch deck discussion, the designer disappears and is taking photos of everything, which allows us to go back and create our estimate. I don't care about measurements until we get a signed contract and the first installment of payment.
Okay. Do you have another step in this process that presents the designs with materials, elevations, etc.? And if so, how long before you do this presentation?
Okay, great question. All of that is done. So after our red dot, green dot meeting, that design concept meeting, then, I mean, I have 75% of my design fee. All of the elevations, renders, specifications are finished between that day and presentation day. On new construction or renovation, yes, the renders are in. But here's the thing, if they hate the cabinet style or they want to tweak the tile, we do not do construction, documentation, or drawings until the design plan is approved. Okay, so again, you're kind of working like I don't want you to overwork. It's like I did all this work and then they don't want a, large format tile. They want smaller ones. They need to redo your drawings. So again, efficiency. And before, Trisha, if you want to put our freebie in the chat, do that now. And then that way you guys can be working on that as we do some more questions.
I've got a goodie for the next question. So you say that you have fixed fee, but also track your hours. How does this work? And is there overtime involved?
Overtime? No. Okay. Yes, we do fixed fees and we track our hours. I have to do that. So I need to know, like, fixed fees have worked for us. But here is the thing, until you start analyzing your hours, you have no idea. That's why some designers hate fixed fees. They just, if I have a flat design fee, they're going to run me ragged. They're going to have they're going to call me all the time. Your boundaries. I teach a lot about boundaries. This is your like key to life and freedom. So it's easier there. We have to track our time because, like I said, if I allocated 100 hours and we're at 150, we're going back and we're like, hey, Susie, lead designer, what happened here? Why did we go over? I've broken it up into of the design process, and we're putting our hours into each phase. Again, this is all through the time billing activities logged into Studio Designer. You could tell like I'm a money person. Like, it's totally my jam because I'm sorry, I don't want to do this for free. I don't want you to do this for free. And it's a lot. I understand it's a lot. In our programs, there's 55, 60 templates. There's masterclasses, there's recordings on how to do this. And there's also like group coaching 3 times a month. So these type of things we dig into, but y'all, it's about, making data-driven decisions.
Traci, we are getting
measure if you don't put it in.
I was going to say, we are getting loads of questions, and I think we maybe have time for one more. So if people have more questions, would the best thing to be to join your Facebook group to ask those questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Join our Facebook group. Like I said, it's over in, I don't know, Trisha, if you have that. Trisha's been dropping some of these links in the chat. Yeah, it's just the gloss for interior designers. And we do ask a couple questions for you guys to come in, which helps us, as far as our materials go to providing you. But yeah, and then like I said, the meat of the answers, it's all in the program. I do not hold back, and you can ask anybody that I know or that's in my programs. I don't feel like I need to hold anything in. I think that our industry is full of secrets. I am not one of those, but I do reserve that, for our members who are investing in themselves. Now, we are having a big launch for our programs in January. If you are interested now, book a call with us, go in there. We can get you set up. You have immediate access to our calls, our materials. You can work on it over the holidays. It's a great tax write-off. So just get in touch with us. We're happy to explore this with you.
This is actually a good time to launch our poll, because if you are interested, you'll want to put in yes. So we're going to launch 2 polls. The first one, if you're curious to see how Studio Designer's fully integrated platform can streamline and elevate the management of your interior design business, click yes. And if you're interested in learning more about creating a highly profitable and predictable business through Traci Connell's business coaching program, The Gloss, click yes. And we'll leave that open for maybe about 30 more seconds just to give people a chance to register their interest. And we also have all the links in the chat as well. Facebook group, learn more about the gloss, Instagram. Trisha's posted all of that in there as well as the freebie as well.
Yep. Yeah. I know. I wish I had more time to answer the questions. It's interesting. I feel like the interior design industry is one of the most complicated industries
Yes.
that there is, again, and the hardest working. And that's the part that in a way makes me sad, but in a way, there's so much opportunity for you guys to really learn about efficiency and really dive into your strengths to lighten your load and just run a business where you're not feeling like, I could say chaotic all day long, but no one likes to have butterflies. And so if I can help, let me know.
Thank you, Traci. This has been wonderful. It's so informative, and I hope everybody learned something today. I will, if the session is recorded, I know a couple of you asked about the recording, so that will be distributed after, and it will also be available on our website. So again, Traci, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all this valuable information to our group. And thank you all for spending time with us this afternoon. We're going to be hosting another Work of Design live in December, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, all of you. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.